Welcome to the 15 Minutes with a Farmer podcast from Successful Farming. I'm your host, Lisa Faust-Prater. My guest today is Blake Miller, a financial advisor who grew up in Atlanta but has started his own cattle operation from scratch. He shares his story of learning the cattle business from a neighbor and offers financial tips for farmers. In each episode, I have a quick 15-minute conversation with a farmer to hear their story and share their experience, expertise, and life lessons. Thank you so much for joining me today on 15 Minutes with a Farmer.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to talking. I think this will be awesome.
For starters, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background as it relates to agriculture?
Yeah, so I have no background in agriculture before probably 2020. Grew up in Atlanta, in the suburbs of Atlanta. So when COVID happened, I really wanted to try to learn about raising my own food and having that supply chain localized. And I just started, honestly, just watching a ton of YouTube videos. It was probably a year after that, 2021, I drove around and I just saw, a couple of pieces of property that had cows on them. So I went back and I looked up on Zillow, on QPublic, just some local resources to try to find who owns that property. And I just typed up a letter and sent it out to probably 25 or 30 different people. And basically my letter was just, hey, I'm a young guy trying to learn about farming, trying to learn about agriculture. I saw you had cows on the property. I would love to come work for free. I've got a business that I run, a financial business, so I can't be there all the time. But the weekends, mornings, evenings, I'm happy to come out and help. And I had one gentleman that responded back, and for the next 18 months, I started just working with him, learning about the business, learning about cattle. It was really, really cool to kind of get my feet in the water per se from that standpoint. I was over there helping them out. Some days 8 hours, some days 2 hours, feeding cows in the morning, rotating pastures, working cows, just the whole nine. It was a really, really cool experience.
That's such a great way to learn, and like having a neighbor who can mentor you is so fantastic. That's just an invaluable resource. Were there things that surprised you, things that were harder than you thought? Like, what was that experience like compared to what your expectations were?
Yeah. I don't know that I necessarily had expectations. Maybe a little bit just from, watching some people on YouTube. I watch a lot of Just a Few Acres Farm and Farmer Tyler Ranch and Greg Judy and Joel Salatin and all those kind of people. So you only get so much of the story through what's published on their YouTube channels. The funniest thing, or sometimes the most frustrating thing, is just getting cows to do what you want them to do that's in their best interest, that sometimes they don't think is in their best interest.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, learning about cattle through videos or whatever is one thing, but when you're out there trying to get a stubborn cow to go where you want it to go and it doesn't want to go, that's a whole new level of frustration.
Yeah. There's always that one cow that just doesn't get with the program.
Yeah, there's always a troublemaker, always.
It is, yeah.
So what took you from the point of helping and learning to getting into your own operation there?
My end goal was to at some point just bring up, hey, if I buy a cow or two or a couple, can I put them on the property? Mm-hmm. And so one day I just asked the gentleman that I was working with, and I said, hey, if I go and buy a couple of cows, can I put them here? Can I just keep them here? I'll take care of them, like do everything. He was like, of course, absolutely.
So what do things look like today for you?
We got our own place a little bit north. We're right between Dawsonville and Gainesville, Georgia. We've got about 120 acres or so. I lease that land, and we've got about 40 head of cattle. So a lot of what I'm doing is the end goal is just local beef sales. So, breeding up cows, raising calves. A lot of the stuff that we do is just grass finish. We do have some customers that want grain finished beef, so we'll do that. Brought that farm back to life. It had overgrown, hadn't really been utilized in the last couple of years. I had to build all new fences. I worked with the USDA with the EQIP program.
Yeah.
So it really just got thrown into the fire of trying to figure all that out.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love it that you sort of started slow and learned as you went and, built up your skills and your experience before you, got those 40 head. And And that's such a smart way to do it. So tell us about
Yeah.
your day job and how that kind of ties in with farming.
The job that I've had for the last 11 years has been in financial planning. The financial business is something that is ingrained in whether it's agriculture or you're a plumber or you've got any type of business, it's something that's always integrated into everyday life.
Yeah, it really is. And for farmers, financial planning, estate planning, all of the planning and taking care of the books and the finances is such a huge part of the business, and it's so important, especially when you're looking at a generational farm where it's something that you want to be able to pass down. You want to start your kids in a good position financially. We can't obviously talk specifics. If you have, maybe a few tips for farmers as far as finances go, maybe mistakes that you've seen commonly that folks should avoid. Share some of your insight on that with us.
I think the main thing for farmers especially, but like any business owner, is just cash flow, right? Managing cash flow because it's really irregular, right? You're going to have a couple of times throughout the year as a farmer that you just have a lot of income, and that income at that time needs to last for the next 12 months. Cash flow is one of the most important things to get right if you're managing a farm or again any business with irregular incomes, because you've got to make sure that you kind of even out the plane over time.
I've talked to some farmers who swear by, you have to pay yourself an income. And I've talked to other farmers who just sort of live on what's left. And that's really tough with the inconsistent income.
We really need to have three different buckets of money, and a bucket could just be a checking or savings account, nothing crazy. You need to have a bucket that all of your income, all of your revenue comes into, all right? And because that revenue's inconsistent, that account is going to fluctuate. It might be a couple of $100,000 at a point in time. It might be $10,000 at another point in time. That's okay. It's okay for that bucket to fluctuate. The consistency that people need is on their regular like household operating expenses or their business operating expenses. Most people have no idea how much money it takes to live life on a monthly basis. That's important today, but it's also going to be important in retirement because your assets need to replace that in retirement. If you spend 10 grand a month, then you need to have assets that can recreate 10 grand a month, and then you can retire. That number is so important. So from the main account that all of your income comes into, we need to then set up an automatic transfer every month to just go to your checking account to pay all your bills and expenses. There's also going to be times of the year that get a little bit more expensive. So I always tell people have another checking or savings account. I call it a future spend account. The purpose of that money is to build it up. Random things are going to come up throughout the year. We need to plan for them. But we don't want that to conflict with your regular expenses and your true operating account. I think having a system is just important so that you can build that consistency with your cash flow.
Do farmers ever retire? In many cases, no, they don't. But along with retirement, you think of investing. And, farmers don't have a 401k. So, and also investing is sometimes not really top of mind because, again, your cash flow is just inconsistent. Being a farmer is expensive. Some years you feel like you barely break even, if that. And so investing kind of feels like a luxury. But explain why is investing something that farmers really need to take a look at?
Yeah, I think part of it's diversification, right? Like my grandmother always told me growing up, don't have all your eggs in one basket. And I feel like a lot of times, people in agriculture tend to have a lot of their eggs in their farm basket, which I get. There's nothing wrong with putting your investments back into your business. We just know that all businesses go through cycles. There's good years, there's bad years, and we want to have some diversification so that in a bad year, we've got another bucket of money that we can go to if we need it.
When you get to estate planning, that's where things get really, really difficult and families can just fall apart. where, if you want to leave the farm or most of the farm assets to the child who's farming because they've put in sweat equity and they're going to continue the family farm, but you don't want to leave your other kids out in the cold either. Having some investments or life insurance that you can look at as a legacy for your non-farm children is something that people need to start thinking about sooner rather than later. Of course, the longer you wait, the harder it is to accumulate, any sort of wealth.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is probably one of the things I talk about the most with people because it's a huge potential issue, and it can absolutely liquidate entire farming operations if managed improperly. An easy example is if you've got a farm that is worth, $2 or $3 million and you pass away. If that's your only asset, then the ultimate thing is you're going to have to split that farm up, or one person's getting the farm and the other person's getting nothing. I've seen it firsthand. It is a absolute disaster. Simple solution is if you've got a farm worth $2 or $3 million, go get $2 or $3 million of life insurance. And when you pass away, farm goes to one child, the life insurance goes to the other child. It's equal. You could have, the farm go to one child and then all checking and savings, investment accounts, retirement accounts go to the other child. And they might not be equal, might be 2 million and 1 million, but it also shows your kids that we want everybody to be treated fairly, but this is just what we have. It's the best that we can do. The sooner that you start, the more favorable the situation that you can be in long term.
What would your advice be to someone listening who maybe is thinking, I need to really get started? I haven't done anything as far as, really financial planning or investing goes.
Just start researching, start reading, start learning as much as you can, be a sponge and soak up all of that. Be careful what you read, right? Not everything that you read is relevant to you or relevant to what you're trying to accomplish. You have to have a good team around you. If you think about the, most accomplished business people in time, like, do you think Warren Buffett just figures all this stuff out on his own? He's got a team of people, CPAs and CFAs and CFPs and all these people with these fancy designations and licenses that are there in the room with him to help him think through different strategies. You should be no different than that. You should have a team of really good people around you to help you think through things. Interview a ton of people, interview CPAs, interview attorneys, talk to them, and make sure that the team that you build is a team that you actually enjoy being around. Find someone that, knows what you're going through, knows what you're dealing with. Working with the USDA, they need to be able to know the ins and outs of that. The tax system, there's things that are available to farm businesses that aren't available to other businesses. And there's opportunities that, quite frankly, I see people just missing out on all the time, not because they're not smart, not because they can't figure it out. They just don't have the time. Your time is so limited. Have someone that can use their time to figure some of these things out. Someone that can help with tax strategy, a good CPA, someone that thinks outside the box and can bring ideas to the table. Not always someone that you just send all your stuff to and they tell you if you owe money or if you get money back. Good strategy in place for asset protection and insulating everything that you're working so hard to build. And then again, diversification with building wealth. Build the farm up, maximize the potential there, but don't overlook the importance of having other assets, other streams of income, other areas that you can continue to expand what you're trying to build for your family. So that's kind of the nutshell of how to make sure we've got all our ducks in a row when it comes to finances.
Right. Well, that is great advice. Blake, it's been great to talk to you today. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us. This is a topic that's so important to farmers and one we just cannot talk about enough. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. It was great talking with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Open the latest issue of Successful Farming and visit us online at agriculture.com for more interesting features and news for your farm. Join me next week for another episode of 15 Minutes with a Farmer.